All right. Well, welcome everyone. This session, someone already asked, is geared towards intern candidates and people applying for the internship program. If
Can you
you're a
hear me
firm,
okay?
yeah, we can hear you, Suzanne. Can you hear us? So this is for interns that are applying to the program. If you're a firm that's looking to hire an intern, that session is going to be later today at 1:30 Pacific. If you have specific questions, put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them as we go. Use the chat box just for general comments. We have a few upcoming events that we're really excited about. The registration links are on the events page on the BLX website. The first one is resume writing. So we want you to put your best foot forward. So that's on October 8th at 12. Maybe Luis, you can drop the link on where to register in the chat. The next one is about interview prep. We'll go over some tips, but this one will be a lot more in depth. We'll go over some tips today about what to expect on the interviews and how to prepare for those. That's on October 15th. Career Pathways with Caleb Brown. He is a recruiter. He places a lot of financial planners in our profession, and he'll give some tips about the different career paths in our profession. That's on October 22nd. And then we're also going to have another info session for interns similar to this on November 7th. So we'll go around the horn and have everyone introduce themselves who's a panelist. I'll go first. We'll just say a little bit about ourselves, where we're based and our firm, and also about our why, about why we're getting involved in BLX and DEI in general. So my name is Sean Tidlaska. I'm one of the co-founders of BLX. I have my own financial planning firm called Ballast Point Financial Planning. We're based in the Bay Area, just south of San Francisco. We work with young professionals in like their 30s and 40s. And my why, we started the internship program 4 years ago. There was a lot of talk about DEI and the importance of it in our profession and in our society. But from my perspective, there wasn't a lot of action. So we wanted to launch a program that would help people get that first job in our profession that's so hard to get. And we've also heard that there was a lack of talent in our profession. So this program is to help kind of bridge that gap. So I'll pass it over to Luis. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your why.
Thank you very much, Sean. My name is Luis Rosa. I am one of the co-founders of BLX. I too have my own RIA called Build a Better Financial Future, and I work currently out of Las Vegas, but I tend to move about the country every time my lease is up. I work with clients remotely throughout the country. And it's one of the things that I love about, in particular, being able to do this, working with my peers and doing this remotely. My why is, I was born and raised in Dominican Republic. I came to the U.S. as a kid at age 11 and lived in Washington Heights in Uptown Manhattan, New York City. And growing up, I never really knew anything about personal finance. And when I graduated college, I definitely didn't know anything about personal finance. I remember the first job that offered me a 401k. I didn't even know what that was, or a match contribution from the employer. I mean, it's just like a foreign language to me. So once I learned about it and I fell in love with the industry, I got an opportunity to work right out of college with a CFP professional and a CPA. And I just saw how much impact we can have in this. Um, industry. And later on, as I went about throughout the years, I saw how little, um, Latinos and African Americans were in the industry, showing up to conferences and being like the only one in the room. Even most recently, when you look at the most recent CFP statistics, Black and Latinx add up to about 5% of the overall CFP population. And it's gotten better, but it's very small still. And it doesn't coincide with the population of our country. And when I look at people like me and my peers, like we need the help, so we want to get more people in the industry and give people that opportunity to get that first, hard to get first job. Also, I don't think that our industry has done a really good job at providing a really good pathway into the industry as other industries have done. Like if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, you kind of know the track that you're supposed to follow. Here is so broad, you can come into the industry from so many different ways. So I want to help people just get that very first job in financial planning and then go from there. And even if financial planning is not necessarily what they end up wanting to do, but at least they get that exposure. Um, and now, Uziel, if you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Luis. Yeah, my name is Uziel Gomez. I am based out of LA, like I mentioned earlier. I am the intern coordinator for the BLX program. I recently launched my own RIA firm called Primeros Financial, where I serve first generation Americans like myself navigate their careers, their early stages. And really my why is because I lacked guidance as I was navigating my early stage of my professional career. But I always sought out mentorships. Luis is one of my mentors, so I always had the right people in my corner. So the best way to pay that back is to pay it forward. So that's my why of why I participate in the internship program to just be as a to serve as a resource to people that are trying to navigate their professional career, just because I know there's so many different obstacles, so many barriers that we encounter as minorities. And I'll pass it over to Yanni.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Yoni Berhane. I'm a advisor vice president at Weltspire, based in New York for many years, and now I work in the DC area. And I would say the reason why we are looking to BLX to help with our recruiting efforts is because one, we're looking for the best candidates, and two, I think traditional recruiting methods typically exclude some of those best candidates. So our hope is that through BLX, we'll be able to access them, and be able to meet a lot of students.
Yeah, and at Wellspire, Yoni, are you part of the DEI committee?
Yeah, I am.
I think were you in charge of it, the head of it?
Not the head, no, just a member, but an active member. Yeah.
Okay. So just so everyone knows, Yoni is part of Wellspire, and they look to hire a lot of BLX interns. So we thought it would be great to have him on the call to so he could speak specifically about what they look for in candidates. All right, so Uziel, you want to kick things off and tell everyone about our mission and vision at BLX?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, our mission statement is really to create an entry point to people to folks that are aspiring financial planners and identify as Black or Latinx. Like I mentioned, we typically encounter so many different obstacles, so many different barriers as we're navigating any profession in general, right? But specific to the financial planning profession. So really, our mission is to provide a meaningful opportunity. Our program is a paid internship, and you get to learn what real financial planning is all about. So you're not just doing like all of the grunt work, paperwork in the background. You're actually sitting in client meetings. So we want to make it as meaningful as possible so that you could actually learn what real financial planning is all about. And the reason why we do this, like Luis mentioned, is that the demographics of the financial planning profession is not does not reflect the demographics of the US population. Luis mentioned about 5% of all CFP professionals identify as Black and Latinx. So you could just tell there's 100,000 CFP professionals. It's a very low number in comparison to what the US population looks like. So really, our mission is to make the profession more inclusive and more welcoming to people that are of minority backgrounds.
Thank you, Uziel. Appreciate it. One thing that I wanted to make sure that I share with you guys is the requirements to participate. You know, they're pretty simple. We're trying to make the the barrier to entry pretty insignificant, right? So it's not like a huge lift, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we present prospective employers with quality individuals that are really interested in being in the industry. So we have to kind of dance that, you know, that fine balance between, hey, we want to open the opportunity to as many people as we can, but at the same time, we realize that a lot of employers are looking to hire, and the internship is one of those opportunities where they're kind of looking at you and saying, hey, is this a good fit for our firm? So we want to make sure that you fit certain criteria. Before I get into that, Susanna, you able to, can we hear you now?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Okay. Great. Are you ready to talk about some of the results from last summer, or you want me to continue
Uh,
with my session? And
no, we're fine. Wherever I need to hop in, you just give me the cue.
okay, excellent.
Maybe,
Let me finish
maybe,
my session, then we'll flip it around, and that way, Sean, if you can share the agenda link with her, give her a few
yeah,
minutes.
and then Luis, have Suzanne introduce herself too and share about her why,
Oh, yes,
that
indeed,
everyone
sir.
knows her.
Thank you. Yeah, great point. So the first thing is you must be eligible to work in the United States. If you are a student, you need to have at least completed your sophomore year in college. So that means you're entering a junior year or senior year. A CFP board registered program is preferred as a major, but it's not required. Any other relevant fields are considered as long as you have a genuine interest in personal finance, specifically financial planning. Grad students and career changers are also eligible, and CFP coursework is not required, but definitely preferred, and it definitely gives you a leg up because a lot of employers are in fact looking to hire people who are already on track to receive their CFP designation. If you are from a college that doesn't have a CFP prep program, then we always recommend that you have a strong, compelling story. It's not a disqualifier. We have a lot of people that have came, like we've had career changes that were like a CPA, for example, and they didn't have any background in financial planning or any degree or anything related to it, but they had a really good, compelling story as to why they want to be in personal finance. And sometimes that really connects with an employer as well. As long as you really show that you care about the industry, you want to be in it, a strong why, and you show what you've done as a result. We share a lot of those resources too, like books to read, podcasts to listen to, and so on. Another thing is you must be able to pass a background check. This is a very serious profession. You're dealing with people's monies. So very likely an employer is going to run a background check as part of the process of making an offer to you. You also must submit a resume and complete an application before the deadline, which is December 31st, 2024. You must have a GPA of at least 3.0 or higher if you are in school, and we require a copy of your unofficial transcript. Some of the benefits are the interns are paid at least $20 an hour. Some employers pay more, especially depending on their area. Like I know San Francisco, I think the minimum is higher than that. So some employers actually offer more. You must commit to the internship lasting anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks during the summer. We always recommend at least 12 weeks to the employer. So be sure that you have that sort of availability, and anywhere between 20 to 40 hours. A lot of the employers that we have participating in the program actually offer like 40 hours for like 12 weeks during the summer. So just make sure that you have that availability, or if you don't, communicate that in the beginning so that we can make a proper match. And then Suzanne Lawrence is here. She's the CEO from Advisor Business Solutions. She assists with the matching process. So when you apply, you don't apply to a specific firm, you apply to a program. And then her and her team make sure that they interview you, they interview the firms, and then they make the matching process happen, all that magic behind the scenes. So I'd like to take this moment out to introduce Suzanne, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then share some of the successes from last summer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Luis. And hello, everyone. I am Suzanne Lawrence, CEO of Advisor Business Solutions. We refer to our team as ABS. And we are also a founding partner with the BLX program. We've been working side by side very closely with all of the co-founders since the beginning of the program in 2020 and 2021. We are a team of staffing, HR, wealth management specialists that understands the industry, but also what it really takes to get your foot in the door. And I am very passionate about being an advocate to help as many young professionals, as many people of color, people who may have a really difficult time getting that first job to get some experience. This is one of the drivers that we have because we want everyone who applies and who wants to be in this industry, give you some tools, some guidance. We're great listeners. We want to know what you feel good about and what you're feeling concerned or worried about. And we're just going to try to help you to navigate this industry and getting your foot in the door. So I want to, encourage everyone who is looking to apply to really take this program to heart, because we work very closely with intern applicants to help you to become successful candidates. And with that, I'll just use this moment to segue into some of the successes that we've had in the past year and overall. Since the inception of the program, we placed about 100 people in firms across the US. About 69 firms are the number of companies that we have been able to place interns, and many of them were offered positions past the internship, either on a part-time or a full-time basis. So this was sort of a good connection between what type of tasks or assignments that were received over the summer that then led to continuing with working with a planning firm. If you're still in school, we understand that means probably part-time would be necessary, but for people who are graduating, who are looking for a full-time position after school finishes up, that there are opportunities as well for firms who are looking to hire full-time. And this is part of what we do ask the interns during the application process, just so you understand that we want to recognize where you are and help you to fit in with the firms that are looking to hire. We've awarded 87 scholarships for continuing education and conference opportunities. And we will also look at how we can continue to increase the amount of different opportunities over the summer, which we'll talk about a little later. Our goal is to reach 100 placements this year. And we do get excellent feedback from the firms, and they also do share some of their challenges that they had, so that we can make sure we're preparing you for understanding what they are. We did have a huge response last year with over 300 applicants that came through: juniors, seniors, grads, career changers. One of the real issues that we saw is we had a huge response, but when people actually applied, we respond immediately with, please schedule a time to be interviewed to be able to come into the process. And close to half of the people did not respond by email. After a few attempts, they were disqualified. So just be mindful that the way that you move through the process is really being attentive and proactive. We also had feedback, or share feedback, that some of the resumes we received had typos or grammatical errors. And what we want you to do is be very clear that your resume, anything on paper, is going to be reviewed by hiring managers. We will not push anything forward that is not polished and ready to go. So we do have professional development webinars on resume writing, on how to prepare for interviews, coming up starting next week. We encourage you to sign up for attending those as well. Back to you, Louis.
Yeah, I'll take the next section. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Just kind of continuing on that theme, Suzanne's team vets all the applications from both the firm side and the intern side, and we try to match the best fit candidates for the opportunity. An application to our program does not necessarily guarantee an interview. And if you do get an interview, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll be hired. So you really want to yeah, just be mindful of that. Sometimes you'll be placed with multiple firms, so there's kind of like competition from both sides that you're trying to land a job at a firm, and then the firms know that you're going to be placed with other firms, so they're going to try to recruit you as well. We'll present the firms with typically 3 candidates per position that's open, but the firms are also able to ask for more candidates if the pool that was provided to them doesn't meet their needs. And you do need to follow up with the firms in a timely manner. One of the things that they're looking for is kind of like your hunger and eagerness to get started. So promptly following up to schedule an interview, sending a thank you note quickly. All those just show that you're yeah, excited and motivated. And really be proactive. ABS, they provide a lot of one-on-one coaching. They do things like mock interviews. They can follow up with you after the interview to see how things went, but it's kind of up to you to raise your hand to say, hey, I'd like some help researching this company or prepping for this interview. It's been a little while, or this is a new industry for me. So it's kind of up to you to kind of be proactive in your own career development. And what we found is the more engaged candidates were, like the more engaged ones, were the ones that had the best chance of getting placed. And so I'll pass it over to you, Yoni. I wanted to give you a chance to share, kind of yeah, some tips that you have from a firm that looks to hire some of our interns.
Yeah, sounds good. So I'll talk a bit about kind of what it is that we look for from candidates that we're hoping to hire as interns at our firm. So first thing I'll say is during the actual interview process, kind of just like some things to keep in mind. You want to make sure that the space that you're in is a very like quiet, well-lit space. You want to make sure that you present professionally, right? So you're dressed nicely and all of that. That stuff makes a difference to people. I think that coming in as college students, there's already maybe some amount of like misperception of question of professionalism and things. So being able to show that and going above and beyond, I think makes a big difference in the eyes of prospective employers. As far as like the content that you speak about, a lot about financial planning are things that firms will teach you while you're an intern, but you definitely want to showcase that you've done some research. So at least researching and Googling kind of what financial planning is, what a financial planner does, what are the subject areas that we work in, what about those subject areas interest you? Is there one in particular that you want to learn more about? Those things matter. I think if you come into an interview kind of with a general interest in finance, but without much specificity about the particular topic, then you may not be as competitive against other candidates, I would say. So definitely do your homework on kind of what financial planning is, what about it that interests you, and also do your homework on the firm. I would say if you could pull a couple of interesting things from the website and ask the interviewer about that, maybe pull the ADV for the firm. And if you have questions about things that you've read in there, not saying you have to read the whole thing, but just pick out something. It'll just show that you've done some effort, that you've given some effort to the process, and it'll make a big difference. So yeah, I think that's what I would suggest. Just definitely a lot of high degree of intellectual curiosity, professionalism, and desire to learn more.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah, and to find out about the firm you're interviewing with, you can just Google the firm and see what's recently happened in the news. I always like to look on their about page with who I'm interviewing with. Look them up on LinkedIn. Maybe there's some connections to their school that they went to. You have a friend or a family member that went there. Um, Try to find out if they specialize in certain types of clients, like retirees or doctors or dentists or something like that. See what they specialize. Are they really big on tax planning or investments, or a specific type of investment? Some specialize on environmental, social good. So those are the types of things that will really show up well for you. That like you don't you not only want to have a job in this profession, but you want to work specifically for this firm. And so they're looking for that too.
Agreed. Thank you, Yoni. Those are great points. I know you probably have to hop off, so I just wanted to take this time to thank you on behalf of BLX for your support and for taking the time to be here Great
Yeah,
tips.
thank you for
Appreciate
having
that.
me. I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting a bunch of students from this. So please apply.
Thank you very much. And to build on what Sean was saying as well, yeah, I think LinkedIn is a great way to learn about the firm. If they happen to have a LinkedIn page, they're usually promoting things that their advisors are involved in, whether it's like being featured in an article or a podcast or maybe sharing their latest blog. So you get to learn a lot about the firm just by simply going on their LinkedIn page. So it definitely gives you that leg up when think about it, an interview is a two-way street. You know, you're not the only one that should be on the receiving end of questions. You should come prepared to then flip the tables on them and be like, hey, what about this? Tell me a little bit more about your company culture, whatever the case might be, right? And pick out a few things that interest you from what you found out. It shows a lot that you've done some research, so certainly gives you a leg up. So now I want to discuss some of the benefits of the program. The benefits are both to you and the firms. You know, I want to start with the benefits to the firms. You know, a lot of the main challenge that we hear from firms is the biggest challenge that they always get is where to find talent, specifically diverse talent. We hear that a lot from firms, like we just don't know where to look, right? So I always like to say we like to take that excuse off the table and say, hey, they're here, they're BLX. We got over 300 candidates. You know, even if you split that in half, we have 150 qualified people, right, that applied. So we have people that are very interested in being in this industry. So we provide employers with that diverse and eager talent pipeline. That's one of the benefits to the firms and the industry in general, because there is a big appetite for that. And, you know, I was on a panel a few years ago at the T3 conference, and I remember one of the panelists mentioning that a lot of the new hires that firms were doing were from other firms. So they were just basically poaching, you know, talent from other firms, and these people were just being hired throughout the industry, but they weren't really creating new opportunities. And this is what we're doing right now with the BLX program. Another thing is that you have a lot to bring to the table. So this is another benefit to the firms. So even if your background is not in financial planning, you have a lot to offer as well. You know, I thought I was good with technology until I hired my first intern, who was a college student, and he introduced me to just so many things that I had no idea existed that I was able to implement into my practice. And they weren't necessarily things that were created for financial planning, but he was able to say, hey, why don't we do this? You know, created different workflows, and so I was very impressed with that. So just know that you have a lot to bring to the firms as well. Um, you know, don't think that it's a one-way street. You too have a lot of value to offer. You know, fresh set of eyes, thought diversity, diverse perspectives from your own backgrounds and experiences. You might be able to notice something in a process that could be done better, and just feel free to bring that up, you know, and say, hey, I noticed you do this. Ask a lot of questions. Why do you do this way? You know, and maybe you have some suggestions as to how it could be done better, right? So those are the main benefits to the firms. Now, what do you get as an intern? The first thing is exposure to real financial planning, like Uziel was saying. Unfortunately, a lot of the ways of getting into this industry sometimes comes via the sales channel, you know, and a lot of people don't want to necessarily be salespeople. And sometimes they don't even make it to financial planning because a lot of the firms sometimes just want you to do either a lot of administrative work or start cold calling people. And they tell you, you know, still to this day, apparently this still exists where some companies are out there saying, hey, write down a list of 100, your 100 closest people that you know, and then you start cold calling to try to sell them some sort of product, right? None of that is financial planning. The financial planning may involve implementing some sort of product, like like an insurance policy, for example, but that's not what it's all about. So you get access to real financial planning. Now, we realize not everyone necessarily wants to be a financial planner. Depending on the firm that you land, some firms are big enough where they have different departments. So you may get exposure to their marketing side, their compliance side, their investment management side, and you may realize, hey, you know, I actually have an interest in this. I didn't know this existed, and so on, right? So keep that in mind as well. But the entry point of our program is financial planning specifically. You also get paid. One of the barriers that we thought about when we created this program was the fact that having an unpaid internship was really a luxury that I couldn't afford when I was a kid in college. Like I needed to work, right? My parents were not giving me any money. My parents told me we're going to give you a roof over your head and food on your plate. Like everything else, you got to go get it yourself, right? So if I wanted a nice pair of Jordans, whatever, like that was on me, right? So I always felt like I had to work. I couldn't just take a whole summer off to go build up my resume to get an internship by the firm. So we realize that that is a challenge, which is why we require the firms to pay at least $20 an hour. Um, that really opens up a lot of opportunities for people that couldn't otherwise take advantage of it. The other thing is that your experience does count towards the 4,000 CFP experience hours requirement, because if you're working at an RIA, most likely you are going to be under um, the supervision of a CFP. And if you're working towards your CFP designation, you can use that time within the internship to apply towards your experience hours requirement. You also get your foot in the door. As I was saying before, it's sometimes very hard to land that job. There's not a specific track in this industry sometimes to like get into this. So now it's like you're getting to basically audition for a potential job. What better way for you to do that if you're spending time 8 to 12 weeks for 20 to 40 hours every week during the summer? Like, you can really shine, right? And if there's an opportunity there, who better to get that opportunity than you, right? Than someone that's just randomly applying from outside the firm. So think about it not just as a learning opportunity, but also as an audition process for you if you're interested in pursuing this as a career. Also, you get an opportunity to attend our summer speaker series. We have a pretty robust speaker series. Once the internship starts in the summer, we have a lot of leaders from the industry, from different backgrounds, that take their time to come and share for an hour their experiences, their mistakes, how they got into the industry, advice for you, and also just a Q&A, right? So you can come prepared and just ask questions. So they're very generous with their time. So that's another one of the benefits. One of my favorite things that we do. Also, you get access to scholarships to apply towards either CFP coursework or taking the CFP exam. Other things like the SIE, the Securities Industry Examination, we provide the coursework and scholarships for those as well. Opportunities to attend conferences. We have a Slack community as well for the interns, so you get to stay up to date with all the BLX events and announcements, a community of your peers, chance to network with others, which is very important. We also have a lot of employers that even after the internship, sometimes they just have a job opportunity and they say, hey, can you share this job with your interns? So if you're part of our community, we share those on our internal intern Slack channels, our newsletters, and also on social media. Also, we have partnered with some organizations like eMoney, which is a financial planning software, and they provide the eMoney certification that also gives you another leg up, because now you're most likely going to learn either the financial planning software that the firm is using or something similar, right? eMoney is one of the largest out there. So if you know eMoney, you could probably very easily learn whatever other financial planning software the firm that you're at, is using. So you get that leg up, right? And also Investment Institute on campus, they offer opportunity to learn about the industry terminologies and so. So there's a lot of a wealth of opportunities for you to learn and just get scholarships and broaden your network overall. So it goes beyond just the internship itself. We want to make sure that we're here not just to help you get into the industry, but also stay in the industry, because certain things like Uziel was mentioning are super important, like mentorship and just creating those opportunities for you to develop throughout your career path. So now, I actually want to go over some of the Q&A real quick before we talk about next steps. There were a few questions in the chat. So let me take a look at those real quick, and then Suzanne will take over again. So one question we have was, for career changers who aren't currently enrolled in a CFP program, due to affordability reasons, are there other ways we can build a strong application? Great question. So yes, I usually tell people the one way to definitely pad up your resume, especially if you don't have the background, is to get your SIE, which is the Securities Industry Essentials exam. And I'll paste the link in the chat for that. It's one of the things that we offer as well during our programming in the summer. That gives you the leg up because it's basically like a prerequisite for any other license that you might need. So if you are already SIE certified, right, you can show that to an employer and say, hey, I already took the SIE, and it really shows that you've taken the time and the effort to get into this industry. Other things too is if CFP is an issue due to affordability, definitely look at our resources page. We have a link there to scholarships. There's a lot of scholarships out there that are really designed for minorities, women, and so on that offer everything from the coursework to the examination and review courses. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for you to land one of those. And believe it or not, they're not that competitive. So, um, I've sat on those scholarship committees sometimes with the CFP board, and at times you don't get a ton of applications. So just the fact that you're applying might give you a much better shot at just landing it, right? So that's another way for you to be able to get the CFP coursework if you can't afford it at the time. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I wanted to add a couple things. If you're kind of just exploring this career, it's not only just an affordability issue for the CFP, it's also a big time commitment. And, I can appreciate that like, I don't know if I want to sign up for the CFP because it's $3,000-$4,000 for the course. It's 2 years, 6 months of prep, and then it's a really rigorous exam. It can be kind of daunting. From the employer side, we want to see kind of like what Yoni was saying, like a good story about why you're interested in this profession. I was just talking to someone yesterday who he helped his dad with his small business, and they both kind of learned together about personal finance and um, how to do their tax return, and that was like really empowering to him, and he wants to help others feel that way. So if you have like kind of a story about why you're interested in this profession, that would really help build your application, even if you don't have the CFP under your belt yet. But it is a signal. It is a signal to employers that you're serious about this profession. So try to get a scholarship if you can for the CFP. There are some programs, I think was it Dalton lets you do the first class for free. And when you do go through the application process, you can say as part of your story, I really couldn't afford the CFP course until I got into it, and I'm waiting until I get a job in this profession before pursuing that. So that I think employers would respect that. They do want to see some commitment to the profession, whether that's the SIE. I've also there's also the externship that's out there, and you can get e-money certified through that. And then I've seen that on resumes, and that really does make a difference that you really know what this profession is about, and you're trying to create the best, like you're trying to create your best application by getting some of those skills. Another thing that people can do is there's something called VITA, which is volunteer, the income tax associate, or you basically prepare income tax returns for people that are really low income earners. And that's a good way to get some experience in the profession that employers would really find valuable.
Thank you, Sean. And there was another, I think there's another two questions.
Yeah, so there's one that says, as a not so young career changer, are you able to join the program? And I would say definitely. Um, as I really like career changers for my firm, and I think for the profession in general, because you bring a lot of transferable skills. So I think part of what we want to try to get across is be confident in what you bring to the table. With a not so young career changer, you've had a lot of life experience. Maybe you've purchased a home or had kids or had your kids go through college. Um, the average advisor in our profession is in their 50s, kind of closer to 60. And typically you work with clients that look like you in this profession. So usually it's like 10 years plus or minus your age. And so if you're a little bit older in the profession, you can relate better to the clients that the firm might be serving. On the flip side, if you are young, um, don't let that hold you back either, because the way to flip that is you're going to be around for a long time. Like some people are worried about, my advisor's 60, is he going to be here for 20, 30 years? So you have longevity on your side. You're also trained on the most recent technology and financial planning techniques. You also aren't set in your ways, you're moldable. So, kind of think of ways to kind of position yourself in the best light, regardless of what age you're in.
Sean, I'd just like to also piggyback on your comments about career changers. One of the things what we would like to suggest when we see applications coming in from career changers is having some transitional skill set that can apply to a financial planning company. So if, let's say, you've had customer service experience, well, they'll see that as you know how to talk to clients, you know how to maybe have some process for, how do you prepare when you're going to talk to clients. Use that as a skill set that you're including in your resume and your application, but it's going to, at least to Sean's point, demonstrate you've done this before. Sometimes we get career changers who submit applications, but they don't put transferable skills. So, if you were working, let's say, in, a bakery or some type of hospitality field or something that really doesn't necessarily highlight what transferable skills, but maybe you had areas that you were responsible for, doing accounting or payroll, or bookkeeping, or anything that might be beneficial that helps to see that you have a good understanding of some of the things that can be still applied into a financial planning firm's environment.
Yeah, I know one firm, they have hired like half of their staff from a coffee shop, like baristas that have to work under demanding time pressures. They have to have good communication skills. And a lot of our profession is communication skills. And so if you can demonstrate you have strong empathy or communication skills like that, or maybe you worked in marketing before, or done a blog and have some social media experience. So yeah, think about the different, transferable skills that you can bring to the table.
Agreed. Yeah, that's one of the things that we encourage our employers to do. Is like think outside the box in that sense, because a lot of the jobs that are out there usually require that traditional 3 to 5 years experience. And we tell employers, look, not everybody's going to have that, but if you get for example, you get the SIE, you have a strong Y, and then you can say, hey, by the way, I have all these other transferable skills, and here's how they translate to the industry. You really put yourself in a really good position. Wanted to address another question. It says, can everyone in the panel share their thoughts on the SIE? I have heard mixed opinions as a college student, not sure if I should jump into it. Well, I would say my opinion is if you are looking to get into investment management or financial planning or stockbroker, whatever the case might be, somewhere in the industry, I would say to get the SIE. It's a way for you to demonstrate to a prospective employer that you have taken the time and the effort to learn some of the basics in the industry. I don't think there's any downside to it, other than the time you're going to put into it and the cost to get it. But I would say if I were a college student that wants to get into this industry, I would get the SIE, especially because up until the SIE was created, before, when you wanted to get into the industry, you needed to get other certifications that needed to be attached to you being part of a company already, right? Up to 2 years, I believe, was the time frame where you could get this certification, like the Series 7 or the Series 65 or 66, which are the stockbroker and the registered investment advisor. You couldn't get those unless you were affiliated with an employer, or if you didn't get affiliated with an employer within 2 years, you would have to retake it, right? So the SIE took away that issue, and now you can get it even if you're not affiliated with the firm. So if a resume comes across an employer's desk and everything looks the same, one of them has the SIE, the other one doesn't, you're just going to look that much better. So to me, I don't see any downside to it, and I would go for it, if you're trying to get into the industry, for sure. I don't know if you have any other thoughts to add, Lucille, Suzanne, or Sean, to that.
I would just say it really depends on what area of the business that you're interested in, because SIE is absolutely beneficial for the technical aspects of understanding securities and how to be able to just have more knowledge about the industry specific. But if you're really trying to understand what aspect of planning is of interest to you, and maybe not having as much emphasis on the investment management side, but maybe other areas, client servicing or other types of areas, then it really just depends on where you see your interest in pursuing, studying, going through the learning process, testing, and then going through the test itself, because you have to invest in your time and you have to commit to it in order to be able to pass.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit as co-founders. Do we offer the SIE or 65? I lean towards the 65 because if I'm looking to hire someone, you need to have the 65 or the CFP to be able to provide advice to a client around investments and to be compensated for that. So if you take the SIE, that's a great signal that you're serious about the profession. The reason that we went with the SIE, or one of the reasons, was you don't have to work at a firm within a certain amount of time or that license would expire. I think the SIE lasts a lot longer. I think with a 65, you have to attach yourself to a firm or within 2 years or that license would expire. But for me, the SIE, the 65 would be more valuable in terms of a team member if you had it. And then there's one question in the comments, and then Suzanne, I'll let you kind of go next about what to expect and next steps. Someone asked, what if I'm a financial professional with experience in banking, wealth management, and insurance, but interested in pursuing a practice as a financial planner instead of just insurance, which I'm doing now for 3 years? Can I apply this to the internship? And also, I don't have a bachelor's degree yet. Yeah, you definitely have like a lot of transferable skills. I don't believe, and you could apply your insurance skills as to your financial planning job. One of the people that we hired at my firm, she used to work for Northwestern Mutual, and she's kind of our in-house insurance expert whenever we have a question about an insurance product or annuity. So that's definitely valuable. I don't think we require a bachelor's degree to participate. I think you need
No,
a bachelor's to get your CFP.
right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can apply for the internship, get matched with a firm, and maybe even work at one. But over time, if you decide you want to pursue the CFP designation, then you will have to get the bachelor's degree to get that.
And I'll just add to that, some firms are pretty heavy-handed, requiring bachelor's degrees. So it's not to say that everyone is going to, not look for that as a requirement, but many firms will. So you're being mindful that it is accepted at some firms, but not all firms.
Yeah, do you want to talk about next steps, Suzanne?
Absolutely. So just to give everyone a little sort of, idea of where we are and what we want you to know for going forward, the application period for submitting has officially opened. It started October 1st, and it completes on December 31st at the end of the year. I do always strongly urge that if you are interested in applying, to do it earlier rather than later. October is ideal for you to submit your application, because what then has to happen is we put you in the process to meet with our matching team. They review your application, they review your resume, make sure everything is clear, and then you interview with them just to get you in the process for being an eligible intern candidate who can be matched up with a firm. So if you do a application process in October or early November, I would say that's going to give you a much better chance to be able to have additional feedback. Let's say you interview with one of our team members and you're very nervous, or you have some adjustments that we suggest that you make. You can actually have interviewing coaching before you would actually be really ready to be meeting up with firms. We also know that there's sometimes midterms or testing periods that happen around the holidays, and we know that that is a big conflict with your time. So we rather would suggest just try to submit as early as possible. Don't wait until December 30th, which sometimes people do as well, because the matching starts right after the holidays. So you want to be in the system. We're going to send out communications via email. And so you want to join the BLX mailing list either by signing up to be added onto the mailing list or go ahead and apply, which puts you basically in the same communication, lines of communication. I also do suggest remember what email you're going to use. It should be in an account that you check regularly. So sometimes we have people who are using their .edus through school emails. Sometimes it's Gmail or whatever other kind of personal email. Use an email that you check frequently, and check your email every day, at least once, if not twice a day. Once you've submitted your application, we want to make sure that you are getting on top of communication regularly. My ABS team will follow up automatically once you've submitted for the application to notify you, confirming your application has been received. They will review and make sure everything looks good as far as your application and eligibility goes, and then they will request within probably 48 hours for you to schedule a time that works for your calendar to be able to have what we call like an onboarding interview. We want to make sure that we're going to communicate with you pretty much throughout the application period. And then once matchmaking begins, you'll receive a notification letting you know right after the holidays in January when the matching will begin. You will most likely interview with several firms, and if you are not placed with a firm, then you will have opportunities to do other types of educational or continued education, externships, SIE program, anything that we help to receive, to send and award scholarships. It's only for interns who apply, who go through the onboarding process, who are basically going through all of the steps. If you just apply and you don't meet up with the onboarding team for the process, you will not be eligible for any of the other program offerings. You have to submit all the way through in order to be eligible for either being matched up with a firm, or if you are not matched up, to be eligible to receive scholarships. We will have intern orientation and kickoff webinars once all of the firms and interns have been matched up. In addition, we'll have exclusive professional development webinars throughout the summer and the private community of participating interns, which is the Slack channel that Luis mentioned. The program will kick off in the summer. Some of the firms will have start dates in May and others in June. It just depends on everyone's availability. And we want to make sure that you know about the upcoming events for the professional development webinars that we're going to be having for resume writing, which is going to be next week on October the 8th at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. We have an interview prep webinar on October the 15th, also at noon in Pacific, 3 Eastern. We have a session called Career Pathways with Carla Brown on October 22nd. And we'll have a second information session on November the 7th for anyone who may know someone who would be interested in applying to the program, but they want more information. So please feel free to share the BLX information, our website, and any of the webinar information to any of your classmates or colleagues or friends who might be interested in participating in the program.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne. So it looks like we're at time. Thank you all for attending. If you have further questions, you can email us at info@blxinternship.org. And I really encourage you to apply. It's a wonderful profession and it's really rewarding. And yeah, I'm excited that you're here. All right. Have a good day, everyone.